All right, hey everyone, Randy Harrington here. I am out here with Miguel Ramirez. Everyone probably knows him from Sasquatch Theory. If you don't know him from Sasquatch Theory, you need to get to know him. He's doing some good quality work all over the state of Missouri, and now he's branching out into other areas, even as far as Alaska, checking out Bigfoot reports, talking to witnesses, compiling a really nice library of happenings basically around Missouri. So someone like me, a Missouri boy, a Kansas and Missouri boy, that is the kind of information that I'm looking for because it's close to home for me. So I was fortunate enough to come across, and he and I spoke, commented online, and it's culminated in us sharing a spot here in the Mark Twain National Forest. He invited me to one of his locations, and I'm grateful. So I just want you guys to get to know who he is. And so my first question to Miguel is, where did you come from that put you where you're at now? How did you get from point A to point B? I'm sure there's a series of events. You know, we talked about self-discipline and doing things to discipline yourself, and here you are putting out good work. How did you get here?
Well, Randy, first of all, it's a pleasure being out here in the Mark Twain National Forest camping with you, and I'm glad we finally got to get together. And I've seen a lot of your work in the past, but basically how I got into this is I've had experiences whenever I was younger. I think I was around 12 years old or so, and I was sitting in my bedroom. It was probably July. It was the summertime for sure. I can't say exactly when, but I had the window all the way open because it was hot, and back then we used fans, you know, to keep cool. But basically I was watching TV, I was sitting there on my computer, and I would say it was anywhere from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. at night, and I heard this loud howl, this deep guttural howl, and right after that howl tapered off, I heard this scream. It sounded like a woman screaming. So I went up to the window, slammed it shut, got underneath the covers, and thought, what the heck was that? My brother's out there playing a prank on me, or someone has like a PA system out there in the woods. I couldn't figure it out, but in my mind I was thinking, monster. What the heck was that? And
what part of Missouri was this in? It was
central Missouri.
Okay, so central Missouri. So surrounded by Mark Twain.
Yeah, essentially. But I never knew what that was, and I went throughout life just always keeping that in the back of my mind. And I would say the first major encounter that I had, I was near an area called Merrimack Springs, and it was September 14th, 2018. And I remember that day because it was the day before bow season, and I was going to go to this area to scout it out before I went in there to hunt. So I knew where I could go in and hang a stand that next morning. But basically, I got there on a Friday, and I parked my car, and I was overlooking the Merrimack River off a bluff. And whenever I turned back around to walk back to my car, I see this jet black figure on all fours scurry like that. And I was thinking, oh man, is that a hog? Is that a group of turkeys? Maybe it's a black bear. And by the time I got a good look at it, all I saw was something upright slowly hide behind a tree.
Let's wait for that car to go by.
Okay.
And I'll edit that. I'll edit this stretch out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty annoying when you get the background noise.
Great start, man. It's a great start.
Yeah, cool. Good deal. Hopefully no one pulls in. If they do, we'll just say we're doing photography.
Yes, and it should be obvious.
Wildlife observation.
Okay, so you see something that looks black and low to the ground, and logically speaking, you would first say to yourself, you know, bear, or any other ground ground crawling animal, uh, but it was jet black,
Yeah, jet
completely black.
black. And
Okay,
whenever it hid behind a large oak tree, it just slowly hid, like in slow motion. But by that point, I only saw like this part of its body and over. So it just kind of looked like black fur that kind of tapered down like that, kind of like a Christmas tree. But I never thought Bigfoot. I just thought that was strange. If that's a black bear, that's an intelligent black bear to know to slowly hide behind a tree. And I stared at that tree for a while, and everything got quiet. Never saw it again. So I just figured, whatever it is, it's gone. Heard something scurrying over there. But anyways, the next year after that, I had some strange encounters in 2019. It was probably around June time. I was out picking chanterelle mushrooms, and I've had some strange activity prior to that. Just a few weeks before that, I was up at the top of the driveway, and I heard these three whistles, just, and then a few seconds later, another whistle, but loud, sharp whistles, like as if a farmer's trying to call in his cattle or something. Just loud whistle, and there was three of them, so I kept going back to this area trying to investigate to see what could happen. But anyways, that day I was picking chanterelle mushrooms, and I had a camouflage backpack, and I was putting the mushrooms in there, and I was zigzagging through the woods. And I thought to myself, man, if these mushrooms are growing all around the property, I bet there's a bunch of them deep in the woods. So the deeper I went, the less mushrooms I found. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go back to where I was originally finding the mushrooms, and I'm going to collect as many as I can. Well, eventually I filled up that backpack, and I was walking back to my place. And as I was walking down this old driveway, it's kind of like a logging road, I heard something to my left, and I stopped. I didn't see anything, so I figured that's probably like a robin bouncing on the forest floor or a squirrel. So I took a few more steps. I could already start to see the driveway. I heard that sound again, so I stopped and looked. And whenever I looked, there was this jet black Sasquatch. I guess he was crouched down like on all fours, either like he had his hands on his knees or he was messing with something on the ground, but he stood up slowly and then started walking off. And it was to my left, so it was very similar to the Patterson Gimlin footage. And as this creature walked off, like he would look over at me a few times. And I got to see him about for around like 5 to 8 seconds. But basically, this creature was probably anywhere from 6.5 to 8 feet tall. He had a round head, almond shaped black eyes, long, thin lips, flat nose, and just ink black. But what I noticed as he was walking away, he had like these whitish gray stripes going down his back. And they went from like the shoulder blade to right about above its butt. So on each side of its back, it had a stripe. So there's two stripes. But as he moved through the woods, one thing I really noticed was as he walked, he didn't make a sound, and he was walking on oak leaves, so he was dead silent. And once he got into the oaks, like further into the woods, into the cedar trees, he just disappeared. And whenever I was looking at him, I just froze. Like it seemed like all the thoughts were just sucked out of my head. I guess I was in shock. But once he disappeared, I kind of snapped back to reality, and I was like, what the heck? That was a Bigfoot. And I couldn't believe what I had seen. So I took off running towards the driveway. I cut back through the yard because he's going through the woods like this, heading towards the creek. And I went into the yard, and I'm trying to cut him off. So I stepped over the barbed wire fence, and I'm back into the wood line. And I take a few steps, and I can hear this thing breathing. And it just sounds like a big man out there in the woods. And I've talked about that in the past, and people say, oh, that's a white-tailed deer blowing. But what they don't understand is I've heard whitetails. I've lived in Missouri. I know what they sound like when they get spooked. This was like a horse when it exhales, like when it's breathing out. You know, you can tell it was a big set of lungs. And I knew that what I had just seen is that creature vocalizing. And I didn't go any further because I felt if I would have went closer to whatever that was, it would have tore me apart. You could tell it was very territorial, and it was angry that I was following it in the woods. So I just backed off, went back home, and I couldn't believe what I had just seen. Because not only did I see it, I heard it, and something about hearing them, it really sets in. I don't know, like sets in the reality of the subject because you can feel how tremendous their vocalization, their vocalizations are. But
Well, you know, like most people, there's always a lot of wonder about the world, and you know, you hear bits and pieces of these type of stories, but the moment you see one with your own eyes and witness something like that, that's the end of the beginning or the beginning of the end of the next phase of what a normal person does, and that is you go through a whole period of trying to figure out what did I just see. And so from 2018 when this incident happened, it's only been 6 years. You've come a long way. In 6 years, you have really applied yourself to this subject matter. So take me through that process from the moment it was a reality to you. How did you transform into someone who is sharing it with as many people as you share it with now?
well, after I had that encounter, I knew without a doubt that they existed, and I still question many things like, where are the bodies? What do they eat? Like, how come no one's filming these things? And I knew what I had seen, so I knew that if I seen this, there's other people that have too. So I'm going to tell my stories, get them out there, and see if maybe someone else has seen the same thing in the same area. And all of a sudden, other people started contacting me from like Michigan, Minnesota, Texas, saying, "Hey, I've seen and heard the same thing." Especially like whenever I'd mentioned little details, because prior to that encounter in June 2019 with the jet black Sasquatch, like I said, I had those whistles. Something was following me at nighttime when I'd go back out there trying to see if I can experience more activity. I'd hear these thumps, like these loud booms, like something just like ground stomped, or I don't know. It was just something powerful. And I would go out there, I would find structures or possible structures. I wasn't sure if that's what it was at the time. And it wasn't until I seen the Bigfoot that I knew, hey, that's what that is.
So at this particular residence, was that still your family residence, or was that just where you lived by yourself?
It was a family property.
Okay, so earlier you mentioned when you were 12 and you had you heard the scream outside of your window, that you contemplated that could your brother be messing with you. How many siblings did you have, and how many siblings were there at the time at that property?
Well, I have two brothers, but at that time it was only one brother living with me.
Okay, okay. So you have your parents there, both parents? So you have both parents and another brother, older or younger?
Older.
Okay. So my next question is, can you, before we segue into your development as an information guru, was there anything that your brother or your parents had happen at that property that they've discussed with you for themselves, having odd things happening?
No, as far as like Bigfoot or Sasquatch, they've never experienced anything. And that's the wild part. My dad would go hunting all the time whenever I was a little kid, and he would tell me strange stories about seeing these large black cats, seeing what he claimed to be an elk in Missouri, which, I didn't really believe him. Like, I don't know what you saw, but he claims it wasn't a whitetail.
Well, it just goes to show you. I mean, I just did a video about farms and how farms are visited on a regular basis, and these people never know. You never know. I mean, with even the signs are so subtle. Bigfoot on purpose, tries to make you not know that they're there. If they're coming into these rural homesteads, for the occasional bite to eat from a horse barn, horse feed, or a rabbit hutch, or a chicken coop. They'll come in, do just a very minor, grab one chicken, and then close everything up and leave, because they don't want you to know they're there. They don't want to deplete their food source, and they want to be able to come back every couple of weeks and grab another chicken and have everything maintain itself and stay the same. That's one way to do that. So you had an encounter that included a visual, but just because your parents didn't, a lot of times people in the rural, they do a lot of work. They spend a lot of time working the property and working, and then they work a daytime job. So not everybody has the opportunity to catch one off guard walking, in the woods like you were, to go setting up a tree stand or something to that effect. So that doesn't take away from the story. but it's always something to contemplate. Clearly, they were there,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and,
absolutely. I
and
think they've had experiences that they didn't attribute
recognize.
to Bigfoot or recognize or even think that it was something unusual. One time, it was during the deer season, my dad got this nice 10 pointer and he put it up in the garage. The garage doesn't have a door, it's just like a metal barn, but he had it hanging up there about, I don't know, I'd say like 8 or 9 feet. And that next morning, that deer head was gone. He's like, what the heck happened to it? So he went all the way in the woods looking for it. He ended up finding it way down in the creek bottom. But the strange part was they had no bite marks. Like, let's say if it fell to the ground and a coyote grabbed it or the coyotes dragged it off, there was no bite marks, no scratch marks. It was still in perfect shape. So for something to carry it off that far, it's pretty strange. And that creek bottom is the same area that I've seen the Sasquatch come and go from before.
Wow.
But I didn't think about that till years later. I'm like, maybe that was Bigfoot. And as far as like, we used to have chickens. Something would get in there and kill all the chickens. But I mean, possums,
Yeah,
foxes can do
when they
that.
decimate a bunch of chickens,
Mm-hmm.
it's a
Yeah.
predator. But when you're talking about the deer, that takes me back in my mind to the Sierra Sounds. When I listened to the video of the Sierra Sounds and Ron Moorhead and them talk about and Al Berry talking about the experiences there. One of the experiences was when they would have a deer hanging up in camp, they would come back and find footprints where something has come in and examined the deer that they had gutted and had the carcass up there. So it's not uncommon that a hanging deer that they have access to in the middle of the night, has the chance to take it.
All right, so this next encounter took place 3 weeks after the June 19th encounter with the jet black Sasquatch. I kept going out there to research the property and just try to see what else I could experience. And I was trying to validate in my mind, like, that's actually what you saw. Even though the creature I saw was only like 30, 40 yards into the woods, like, I saw it clear as day. It wasn't something like, oh, I took this blurry photo, look back, and there's a Bigfoot. Like, I saw it clear as day for a good duration of time. I mean, 5 to 8 seconds, that's a long time to see a creature. And basically, I just kept going out there, walking around all the time. Just any free time that I had, I would go explore the property just to see what else I could experience. And this next encounter took place in July 2019. I had been taking my camcorder out there every single day, and I was hoping to get these things on film. Well, about 3 weeks passed by, and I just got burnt out on going out there every day, every chance that I could, and carrying around this camcorder because I just wasn't seeing anything else. And I thought in my mind, okay, you've seen Bigfoot. The chances of you seeing this thing again are next to none. Like, you saw what you saw, it's never going to happen again. And it just happened to be the one time I didn't take my camcorder out there. I was in a bad mood. I just wanted to go for a walk. And I went up that logging road driveway, and it's a big circle driveway. So as I was coming back, I seen something black on all fours, and it was just like the Merrimack Springs incident. Scurried around like a chimp, got up to a tree, and then slowly hid behind it. But this one was smaller than the Merrimack Springs creature. And like I said at the time, I didn't know what that was. I just thought it was a black bear. And in my mind, when I'm looking at this creature on all fours, it took me back to that encounter by Merrimack Springs. I'm like, there's that same thing again. Is it turkeys, hogs, a black bear? And when it got up behind the oak tree, it slowly hid, just like the creature I'd seen in 2018. I thought, okay, whatever this is, it's gone, just like last time. I don't know what this is. So I'm staring at that oak tree thinking, well, it's gone. Whatever it is, it disappeared. And right as I'm thinking that, the creature steps out from behind the tree, but he's looking to its left. So he's kind of propped up like this, and you're me. You're looking right at me. I'm a Sasquatch. He has no idea that I'm standing there watching him, and I look at the creature for probably about, I would say, almost a good 10 seconds, maybe a little less. But I'll describe the features before I describe what happens next. This creature was probably about, I don't know, I'd say like 4.5 feet tall. He was jet black, looked completely different than the creature that I'd seen 3 weeks prior to that. This one had like big, round eyes, like the diameter of a Coke can, and you could see a lot of the white in the eyes, and the pupils were like small and black. But it was like staring into the eyes of like an infant child, like how white their eyes are compared to ours. Like as you get older, your eyes get more bloodshot. These eyes are really white, and it had the face kind of like a gorilla. The entire face was covered with hair, had long, thin lips. Like I said, it looked completely different than the creature that I'd seen prior to that. And I don't know, it was just very robust. It was kind of had those baby features, kind of like it was tubby. I don't know how to explain it, but as I was staring at the creature, he was looking to its left, and he slowly panned around. And when he saw me, his eyes shot open. He kind of took like a breath, shot down super fast, and hid behind the oak tree. And I never seen him run off. Like with a deer, you'll hear like or whatever just crash through the woods. Like once he hid behind the oak tree, he was gone. And I was looking to the left, to the right of the tree, and that was it. Just everything got quiet. I never saw it again. And I didn't pursue the creature in the woods because I had just seen it. Like people go out looking for these things so they can see one. Like I don't know what else I could have done. Like I just had a Class A encounter, so I wasn't going to chase it down. And the feeling that I had is, okay, there's little ones. So if this thing exists, that means mom and dad are around, and the creature that I'd seen prior to that is probably its mom or dad. And I just had this dark feeling like I was being watched. Like if he's around, mom and dad are around. So I didn't want to go like chasing after it and get ripped apart. But at the same time, I was like, I kept saying to myself, man, that was so cool. That was so awesome. I just kept saying that over and over. And I got this overwhelming feeling that we're being lied to. And all the questions started popping up in my head, like, why aren't we being told? Where are the bones? Do aliens exist? Is God real? Like, I just really started questioning everything. Like, is the news lying to us? Just all kinds of questions started popping up in my mind. And I walked back home knowing that these creatures really do exist. Because the jet black one that I'd seen, I knew that I'd seen it, but I was still questioning my own like sanity. Like, did I see? Did I really see that? And once I seen the juvenile, I was like, okay, these things are out there. And that's really what kicked off the channel and really inspired me to really start doing research and interviewing people and try to figure out more, because I realized like these things are in the woods and they're watching us and they can get so close to us and we have no idea they're there. But in this case, the creature messed up. I guess he didn't hear me, he didn't see me, he was distracted, and I just never thought that there would be Sasquatch that close to home, because I always thought if these creatures really do exist, they're going to be in the Pacific Northwest, Northern California, Oregon, Washington, and I think that's generally what people think. If they're kind of open to Bigfoot maybe being a reality, they're going to think, yeah, they'll be up there in Alaska if they do exist, but they don't realize that these things can be a lot closer than they believe.
Yeah, yeah. My encounter happened within 100 yards of an elderly care home
Mm-hmm.
at the south side of Sulphur, Oklahoma. So these things are in very close proximity to where people live, but their ability to stay hidden is second to none. So, so you spent the next several years compiling a database of talking to people, interviewing people, learning things from people, and even cataloging it in your head. But better than that, you got it cataloged on video that people can go back and reference. I mean, they can go back through your catalog of videos and see how you got to where you're at now.
Yeah.
Are you satisfied with where you're at now? What are you looking for next? Even though you're going to continue gathering information from other people, what are you where do you want to go from this moment on?
My goal with the channel is, I hope that someone contacts me and says, hey, you need to get out here. There's been Bigfoot coming up to the house every night, slapping the house, all kinds of activity, taking chickens, looking into the window, just something like that. My son's seen it, my daughter's seen it, and it's current activity. And I just hope I can get out there, document it, and get these things on film. And I just want to prove to all the people that have said, you're seeing things, what have you been smoking? You know, maybe you've seen a bear. Like, I just want to prove them wrong, especially to my family. Like, that's my main motivation, is just all the naysayers. And I think that'd be really cool to be like, hey,
That's all we can do. Just, you're
mm,
going to get that grief from people who, for whatever society has got them pigeonholed into a certain little dome that they can't see out of,
mm,
that's on them.
yeah.
We just do what we're going to do, and I'm determined, just like you, to. I just want the facts.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. I can't say that I'm an outstanding citizen or I got this degree. Like, I know what I've seen out in the woods, and I just want to help people know that they're out there. And I want to help other people just like me who have encounters that have no one to talk to. Because the bad thing about this is when you see one of these creatures or experience the activity, your mind will just keep thinking about it over and over and over, trying to figure it out. And you just want to talk to someone about it. You'll find yourself talking with people who don't care about Bigfoot. Like, hey, do you believe in Bigfoot? What do you think about this?
it's a
And
form of self therapy.
yeah, I
It
guess so.
truly is. Uh,
That's another main driver with the channel is I needed someone to talk to. I needed to find people who would understand and validate exactly what I had seen. And yeah, like I said, I want to find someone with activity. But one really cool thing that I want is someone in the same town to be like, hey, these things are out here. Something that I did figure out was 5 minutes down the road, the reports, and they're around the Merrimack River, and it's only 5 minutes from my place. So that really validated it in my mind. Like, hey, they are out there. You just know what you encountered was real. Don't worry about what other people think, and only worry about what you know, what you've seen. That's the only thing. Take care of yourself. But one time I was camping out here, or not camping, sorry, I was hunting out here, and it was probably around October, mid October, and I went in on the Ozark Trail, found a food plot, and there was this large oak tree that fell down. So I sat up behind that oak tree, and I was sitting there all day. I got there like at 1, just right after noon. I mean, I couldn't wait to get out there to hunt, and I realized I got out here way too early. Like, I have to wait hours till it starts getting dark. But I started hearing these tapping noises across the field next to a pond. It was like I was hearing that all day long, and the wind was blowing, so it was kind of hard to hear over the wind. So I was just thinking those are woodpeckers knocking back and forth, and I didn't really think much of it. Well, once it started getting closer to dark, the knocks started getting more intense, and before they stopped knocking, it sounded like one of them took this stick and hit it against a tree, just whack, and you could hear the stick break. So I thought, okay, that's unusual. Like, a woodpecker wouldn't do that. And everything got real quiet after that. I bent down to grab something out of my pack, and whenever I looked up, there was a white-tailed deer that was getting ready to come out to the field, and she was staring at me, and I froze, and then she took off. So I thought, dang it, I ruined it. Well, the wind really picked up after that, and 2 deer came up running behind me. It seemed like they were running away from something. They didn't care about me. They were just hauling butt from something else. I thought maybe other hunters spooked those deer. Well, then I hear this loud knock way down in the valley. It sounded like someone hit 2 baseball bats together. Pow! Oh crap! These creatures are here too. And then a few minutes after that, on the trail that I walked in at, it's getting dark. Like, you can't really see much anymore. A loud wood knock right on the trail, and I have to walk through that to get back to my vehicle. So I walked back to my vehicle. Nothing happened. I got out of the area, and everything was okay. So I kept thinking about that incident, and I went back probably in December. It was a few months after that, and I took someone up there and I was telling them about the wood knocks. When we went across that field into the pines, we found all these structures, like these big X's, arches, and I filmed and photographed a lot of them and put them up on the videos on my website. And exactly where those structures were is where I heard the wood knocks. So everything was adding up to me. And also in that area, years prior to that, my old supervisor told me that he went out deer hunting and he saw something brown moving. He threw up the 30-06, and when he looked through his scope, he said he saw a clan of Sasquatch. And he got out of there. And that was one encounter story that always inspired me and kind of made me somewhat believe these creatures could be out there. And I was always polite to him. Like, I didn't fully believe, but I was open to what he had to say because he was just a quiet spoken person, very professional, and a no BS type person. But he's the one that told me to come out here. He's like, if you want to find the whitetail, come out here and hunt. And the first time coming out here, I hear the wood knocks. So I'm like, okay, they're definitely out here. Yeah.
Very good.
Yep.
All right. Well, I mean, everyone listening, his channel is called Sasquatch Theory, the Sasquatch Theory. I like to keep my videos short and sweet, to the point. But once again, I appreciate you letting me join you out here, and hopefully tonight we'll have something to report.
Yep. Thanks for having me on.